بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت السميع العليم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Now, after the eviction of Bani Nudayr, we read the verses in Surah Al-Hashr in relation to that. The Prophet ﷺ carried on trying to get to the tribes who helped Quraysh. And he kept hearing that everybody after Uhud wanted to attack Medina. So he had constantly to keep people listening and getting him news. And he heard that one of the big tribes, Ghatafan, and it's one of the biggest tribe in the peninsula of Arabia, were preparing to attack Medina. So the Prophet ﷺ got his Sahaba and went in Ghazwa in Jamad al-Awwal, 4th Hijrah, 4th Hijri year. And he went towards Ghatafan. When they arrived there, he found that they were already preparing and they were ready. So they were about to march. The army were ready to start attacking. As they were there, suddenly they found them, they lined up. Two groups. The Muslims saw the huge number of Ghatafan. They had some fear in their hearts, subhanallah, just from the sheer number. In comparison, Ghatafan saw the Muslims and have heard of their courage and the ability of fights and everything, and they were afraid to attack Muslims as well. So the army were both sitting, standing, watching. A bit of little fights here and there, but nothing happening truly. 3 days carry on. Suddenly, while they were in this, the leader of Ghatafan suddenly noticed, he just said, something is different about them. Look at them when they pray. When they pray, they line up and they are busy. They don't look at us. So let's wait till they stand in prayer and attack them in one go. Subhanallah, as the Muslims started praying, Allah has revealed just before that the verses of Salatul Khawf for the Prophet ﷺ, which in Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 102. What the Muslims did, as with the order of the Prophet ﷺ, he split them in two. One was praying with the Prophet ﷺ, and the other half was standing, watching the enemy. Ghatafan looked what's happened now. They've changed their prayer. And as they finished the first rak'ah, the group that was standing joined the Prophet, and the first group that prayed one rak'ah stood behind to protect the rest of them. And this was called the prayer of fear, Salatul Khawf. And when we read the verses, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, as I said, chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa, verse 102, وَإِذَا كُنْتَ فِيهِمْ فَأَقَمْتَ لَهُمُ الصَّلَاةِ فَلْتَقُمْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ مَعَكَ وَلْيَأْخُذُوا أَسْلِحَتَهُمْ. Said, if you stand to pray with them, this is specifically in war event, let a group of them stand with you and pray and keep their weapons. فَإِذَا سَجَدُوا, when you make sujood, فَلْيَكُونُوا مِنْ وَرَائِكُمْ, let them to be behind you to watch your back and protect you. So a group is protecting while the other group is making sujood. وَلْتَأْتِ طَائِفَةٌ أُخْرَى لَمْ يُصَلُّوا فَلْيُصَلُّوا مَعَكَ. Then the next rak'ah, the group who has not prayed with you, they will join you, and the others will be in defense. وَلْيَأْخُذُوا حِذْرَهُمْ وَأَسْلِحَتَهُمْ. And let them take care and be alert and keep their weapons with them. وَدَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَوْ تَغْفَلُونَ عَنْ أَسْلِحَتِكُمْ وَأَمْتِعَتِكُمْ فَيَمِيلُونَ عَلَيْكُمْ مَيْلَةً وَاحِدَةً. The kuffar hope that you just turn away and just be distracted a little bit from your weapons and what you own, so they can go and jump on you as one man. وَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ إِنْ كَانَ بِكُمْ أَذَى مِنْ مَطَرٍ أَوْ كُنْتُمْ مَرْضَى أَنْ تَضَعُوا أَسْلِحَتَكُمْ. And there is no problem if you have problem with heavy rain or you are sick, that you do not fight. وَخُذُوا حِذْرَكُمْ. Stay alert all the time. إِنَّ اللَّهَ أَعَدَّ لِلْكَافِرِينَ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا. Allah has prepared for the kuffar a very bad punishment. So suddenly, Ghatafan can't do anything. They can't fight. And they kept another day, second day, third day. And subhanAllah, as Allah has always got the Prophet to win wars, He put fear in the hearts of Ghatafan. All these thousands standing there suddenly got afraid and ran away. This is the power of Allah. As soon as they ran, the Prophet ﷺ remained in their land another 3 days to prove that he has conquered that area, and took all they had as cattle and returned. On the way back, a man from Ghatafan kept following them, and he made an oath that he will not return without hurting one of the Muslims. But he was a single man, no weapons, walking, didn't look like he had anything with him. The Muslim said, only one man, ignore him. Night came, the Prophet ﷺ camped with his Sahaba and asked 2 of the Sahaba to be the watchers, the night watch, the guards, Abbad ibn Bishr and Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhuma. While they stood on little hill so they can see the whole camp and see the other side if anybody is trying to come, although it's night. You can tell in the night you can't see much, but you can still feel if there is any movement in the desert, in that silence. So Abbad said to Ammar, why don't you rest a little bit? I'll wake you up later, I might have a bit of a rest. Alaikum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ammar went for a snooze. Abbad ibn Bishr stood up and made takbir and started praying. He's standing up, he can see everything while he's praying, he's making salah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That man saw in the dark something standing, he said, it must be one of the Muslims and the guard. So he got an arrow, aimed and hit Abbad in his shoulder. Abbad was praying, carried on praying, just in darkness, pulled the arrow, threw it away. And as I'm saying, in the dark you can't see much of movement. That man couldn't believe, did I miss it, or is it a tree? What happened there? So he tried again and he hit him a second time in his shoulder. Abbad carried on praying, pulled it out, and kept on in his same rak'ah. The man couldn't believe it again, so he tried a third time, and he threw a third arrow and he hit him in the shoulder. When Abbad saw something's not right 3 times, he pulled the arrow, made sujood quickly, finished the salah, and woke up Ammar ibn Yasir. Said, someone is around. Ammar saw him bleeding. Why did you tell me? He said, I was reading a surah in the Quran. Wallahi, if I did not fear that someone would attack the Prophet ﷺ, I would not have finished. I would have carried on till I finished it completely. That man didn't see it, nothing happened, said, okay, Allahu Akbar. So he turns and left. Nothing happened. But this is how the Sahaba used to take their salah and the Quran. It's completely different than what we have, subhanAllah. May Allah put it in our hearts in that same strength. So this main ghazwa was specifically named Ghazwat Dhatul Riqa' for a purpose. There are different reasons why the ulama say, but one of them, they said the Muslims were so poor, their shoes, they went on foot long distance, their shoes were worn out. Some of them did not have shoes even. So they start getting pieces of cloth and tying their feet with them. And this is al-riqa', which are the pieces of cloth they tied their feet. So this ghazwa was well known as Ghazwat Dhatul Riqa'. A couple of months later, in Rabi' al-Awwal, the same year before Hijri, there was Ghazwa called Ghazwat Dawmatul Jandal. A tribe again, the tribe of Dawmatul Jandal, were preparing to attack Medina. As I said, after Uhud, everybody is trying to take a piece of the Muslims. Alaikum as-salam wa rahmatullah. So the Prophet ﷺ prepared 1,000 of his Sahaba, and then they just went so far north. It is far north, miles and miles away from Medina. As they heard that the Muslims have moved towards them, they ran away. Subhanallah. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Nusirtu bil-ru'b masirata shahr." I was made a winner in a battle from fear only, the distance of walking a whole month. That was the distance that they had to take. A month walking between Medina and Dawmat al-Jandal. But within that, just as the Prophet ﷺ moved from Medina, they were scared and they ran away. So he arrived there, didn't find anybody. He stayed in their land as he usually does to settle, make sure that everything is the Arab here, all the Arabs here, that the Muslims went there and they ran away from them to strengthen the Islam. In Sha'ban of this year, 4th Hijri, the Prophet ﷺ was answering a call from Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan, after Uhud, he sent a message to the Prophet ﷺ and told him, I'll meet you next year on the same time as the time of Uhud, which is Sha'ban, in Badr. So the Prophet ﷺ took the Sahaba and went to Badr in a ghazwa called Ghazwat Badr al-Akhirah. That's the second one of Badr. Abu Sufyan gathered as many as he could, about 3,000 men, and started moving towards Badr. Then he just suddenly, after a few miles going away, said, I don't think there will be a fight. It's hot. I don't have to do anything. We don't think there will be a fight. Let's return. And he turned back to Mecca. And he sent him a man called Nu'aym ibn Mas'ud, or Nu'aym ibn Mas'ud, to try and put fear in the heart of the Prophet ﷺ. Again, Abu Sufyan has grouped, he's gathered for you, beware, you're outnumbered, they're strong fighters, they prepared so much. Prophet ﷺ said, I am waiting, let them come. When the Prophet heard that Abu Sufyan turned back, he still stayed in Badr to prove again that Islam is strong. And I'm waiting, we're not afraid of them. While they were there, next to Badr is Bani Dumra. And if we recall in the beginning, before Badr, the initial little ghazwa that Prophet used to do, just to attack the caravans, not to fight in those days, he stopped by Bani Dumra, and Amir al-Dumri, the leader, came to him, said, no fight happens next to us, and he signed a treaty with the Muslims. So he came to the Prophet ﷺ at that stage, saw him there, and he called him rudely. He said, are you here to fight on our land and our waters? The Prophet ﷺ looked at him and said, yes, and if you wish, I will revoke the treaty amongst each other and I will fight you now. Amir al-Dumri just stood back and said, no, I have nothing except truth with you. I don't want to revoke that treaty. That's fine with me. That was now the pride of Islam. Now everybody is afraid of Muslims if they are to try and attack them. From this, all these attacks to different tribes, and plus Bani Nudayr evicted, the leaders of Bani Nudayr went to decide now to group everybody against the Muslims, to fight in one big group. So we saw Abu Sufyan had Uhud, followed by Hamra al-Asad, followed by Badr al-Akhirah. 3 fights that he couldn't do anything and, in a sense, ran away. Bani Nudayr evicted. Ghatafan, they were controlled in their own land. Bani Sulaym in their land. Dawmat al-Jandal in their land. So the Bani Nudayr, they went with their leaders, Hayy ibn Akhtab, Salam ibn Ushkim, Kinan ibn Rabi', ibn Huqayq. They spread into a delegation and started meeting all these tribes. Why don't we fight the Muslims all together? And they started going around. And Abu Sufyan, as soon as he heard, he started sending delegations again to other tribes to help and gather more troops against the Muslims. And Abu Sufyan, subhanAllah, asked the Jews, the Bani Nudayr, he said, you tell me, you are the people of the book, you have the holy book from Allah, and your people, is Muhammad's religion better or ours? And as usual, they don't care what they say as long as it starts trouble. Bani Nudayr said, of course, your religion is better. Imagine they tell them that idol worshipping is better than worshipping one Allah, although they worship one Allah themselves. Subhanallah. So Ghatafan, Bani Sulaym, Bani Fuzara, Al-Habish, they all agreed to join that force. And suddenly, for the first time, there was a big army of 10,000 men in Arabia, grouped for one fight. Usually it's one tribe against the other, no matter how many men they have. It could be 10,000 men in one tribe, but it was one tribe against. This one is all unity. And this is why it's called Al-Ahzab, the parties. All the parties joined to fight one main cause. Of course, news came to the Prophet ﷺ of that preparation and that they will be all coming from Mecca. And we know Mecca is in the south and Medina is north. So the Prophet ﷺ gathered Sahaba and said, tell me what to do. If you remember after Ghazwat Uhud, when they decided his decision was correct and theirs were wrong, Allah ordered the Prophet to continue Shura. When we read Surah Al Imran, continue Shura. So he got them again, what should we do? And Sahaba were kind of, we don't know what to do. 10,000 attacking us outside will be massacred. In Medina again, it's difficult. Here, subhanAllah, one of the Sahaba that we haven't heard much about, Salman al-Farisi, came out, radiallahu anhu. He was from Persia. He was a son of a king of Persia even initially. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, in Persia, whenever we had a war, when a big army would come to us and we can't defend, we will dig a trench. He said, what is a trench? Arabs never heard of that word, didn't know what it is. So Salman started describing it to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, that is the way. Now, I made a simple drawing of Al-Madinah and how it is kind of protected in a way. It has natural protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From the east and the west, there are places called Al-Harra, which is Harrat al-Watin and Harrat al-Wabra. These are like the points I made, the dots. The Al-Harra is a place where there are pointy stones in the ground, and it works like a minefield. People cannot walk on them because they're so pointy, they can cut feet. A man can walk with difficulty, but an army cannot go through. And there is a similar one in the south, Harrat al-Janub, with woodlands as well amongst that in the south. So this is east, west, south, kind of protected, natural protection from Allah. In the southwest, there is the Mount of Ir, and on top there is Mount of Uhud. So two mountains protecting in between these Harra. In the southeast, there is Bani Qurayza, a tribe of Jews that are still living in Medina. And that was a weak spot for the Muslims where they could attack from. Then there is Mount of Salah, which is kind of closer to Medina. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered to dig the trench so he can camp, keeping the Mount of Salah behind him and the Mount of Uhud out. And that's the trench they dug. The depth of the trench is in a way that if any person goes down, they cannot come up. There's no measurement. Just if someone goes down, you can say 3 meters, let's say. You cannot jump and get out. You need a ladder. The width was an assessment that horses cannot jump across, except special, well-trained horses. So you'll have possibly 10, 20 amongst the whole army. That's how wide it was. And the length, of course, is the whole length of that defense. And that was in the north of Medina. So that the whole troops have to go all the way around from the south and meet on the north from the area. The Prophet ﷺ ordered to dig the trench and divided Sahaba 10, 10, 10. He gave them a distance each to start digging. And you can imagine how long it will take to dig. No diggers, no diesel engines, it's all by hand. Radiallahu anhum. So how long did it take them to do it? Only Allah knows. The Prophet ﷺ went to Bani Qurayza and told them, are you still on the treaty that we signed on the day we entered Medina? Now they're in treaty that they will defend the Muslims. They don't have to join them, but they will protect them. And they said, yes, of course we are. We don't have a problem to fight you. And they signed a new treaty that they will not allow anyone to attack the Muslims from that window in the southeast. So Prophet ﷺ made a treaty, so he protected everything. It's just the north where the trench is. And the Sahaba started, of course, while they're digging. In Sahih Bukhari, there are different anashid they were saying. And the best of them, subhanAllah, is the one that Abdullah ibn Rawaha used to say, Wallahi, lawla Allahu mahtadayna. Wallahi, if it wasn't for Allah, we didn't have hidayah. وَلَا تَصَدَّقْنَا وَلَا صَلَّيْنَا. And would not have not paid sadaqah, neither made any prayer. فَأَنزِلْ سَكِينَةً عَلَيْنَا. They make dua to Allah. Send tranquility on us. وَثَبِّتِ الْأَقْدَامَ إِنْ لَاقَيْنَا. And steadfast our feet when we meet the enemy. So this was one of their anashid. Another group will say, do the same nasheed that they did when they were building the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was Allahumma la aisha illa aisha al-akhirah, faghfir lil ansari wal muhajira. Allah, there is no living except the living of the hereafter. So forgive the ansar and muhajirin. These were the anashid while they were digging. Every time they were faced with any difficulty, any rock that was blocking, they would call the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They would throw water on it. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, will hit it and will just go into dust. With the power of Allah that He gave to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. With all this work, munafiqeen started slipping a little bit. You know, we can't, okay, let's go and rest at home, feed, rest, and not do much. And when anybody asked them, they say, our houses are exposed, we have to protect them. Inna buyutana awra. Our houses are exposed, we have to protect our families. Any excuse. The Sahaba were also tired and hungry with all that work. You can imagine, no rest. They have to dig day, night, as much as they can, quick. The Prophet ﷺ himself had to tie a stone on his stomach so he doesn't feel hungry. And as I'm saying, doctors now, we know if someone eats and can't stop, you can just push something on or put a balloon in their stomach to stop them eating. So the Prophet had stone tied up, pressing on the stomach, making it feel as if it's full. And this way, he wouldn't feel hungry. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. Jabir ibn Abdullah, one of the Sahaba radiallahu anh, he saw the Prophet like this. He went home and looked, well, do we have anything to eat? The Prophet, we want to invite the Prophet. He said, Wallahi, we have only a little goat and a bit of dough or flour, make some bread. He said, okay, cook them. I will invite the Prophet with 2 or 3 of his closest companions. He said, okay, fine. So he went and whispered in secrecy, Ya Rasulullah, we have a little goat, a bit of meat and a bit of dough. Would you call 2 or 3 of your companions and come to eat with us? Prophet ﷺ said, oh, you Muslims, Abdullah has invited you for a feast. Abdullah, his heart got down his knees. He ran home to his wife. He said, the Prophet called all the Muslims to come to eat in our house. About a couple of thousand of men. He said, have you told him what we have for food? He said, Wallahi, I told him it's 2 or 3 men only. He said, have you told him what we have? He said, yes. His wife told him, Allah wa rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Prophet know best. SubhanAllah, mu'minah. She understood. The Prophet came and arrived, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he looked, said, what do you have? He said, we have meat in this pot, and we have a bit of dough, which we're going to put in the oven, which is the stone oven, cooking. He said, fine. Don't open the pot. Let me pull. Just give me piece of bread. He took the dough and say, put in. And they kept them piece after piece of dough. They will cook it. He will take the bread, put a piece of meat in, and give it. 1, 2, 3, 4. The whole army ate out of this little pot, and Allah kept giving more barakah. This is the miracle from Allah. A small goat suddenly became a feast to all the Muslims. They all got full, subhanAllah, and back to work. Then Amra bint Ruwaha, another Sahabiya, came to brought some date to her brother Abdullah ibn Ruwaha and her uncle, and just gave them to the Prophet ﷺ. They said, you can feed the Prophet with you. So they went to the Prophet ﷺ and said, oh Prophet, we have these few dates for you and us. He said, get me a cloth. So he put a piece of cloth, and he poured the dates in and called all the Sahaba to pick some dates from it. And everybody came, 8 dates, filled, and it kept growing and growing and growing. Subhanallah. This is from Allah. We don't say that it's the Prophet has magic, it was miracles from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, as the army was getting closer and closer, Salman al-Farisi got to a rock, a big rock that they could not move, they could not do anything, they could not break. So they called the Prophet as they usually do, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam got a big, what we call the axe, and hit it first time. And suddenly, a major light, flashlight came out of it. And the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahu Akbar. That's it. And then he hit it second time. Another flash lit. Because people could see it, and you know what a flash does? It blinds you for a second. And he said, Allahu Akbar. And then a third time, he hit it, and a flash came out, and it broke into pieces, small pieces. And Prophet said, Allahu Akbar. Sahaba looked at it and said, Ya Rasulullah, what was this light that came? It came out of the rock. He said, did you see it? He said, yes, we saw that flashlight. He said, when I hit it the first time, Allah showed me Bilad al-Sham, the area of Sham, which is Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and Jordan, in the hands of Muslims. So I made takbir. When I hit it the second time, I saw the places of Faris, Persia, which is Iraq and Iran now, in the hands of Muslims. And when I hit it the third time, I saw Yemen in the hands of Muslims. This is a test now. You're surrounded, you're trying to get trenched to protect yourself from a major, massive army, and he's telling us that Islam is going to reach and conquer the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, and Yemen. Here, the munafiqeen started saying, look, we are afraid even to go to the toilet, excuse the word. And he is promising us to get Persia and Roman Empire. And this is why when Allah revealed in Surah Al-Ahzab, in chapter 33, which is the surah named after this Ghazwa, Ghazwat Al-Ahzab or Ghazwat Al-Khandaq. That's chapter 33, verse 12. وَإِذْ يَقُولُ الْمُنَافِقِينَ وَالَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِم مَرَضٌ مَا وَعَدَنَا اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. And the hypocrites and the one who have some disease in their hearts, disease i.e. opposite to Iman, they say Allah and His Prophet has only promised us, something just to make us feel delusional. It's only all these promises are delusions, that he saw what he saw during that. Now, Kuffar arrived, as we said, from the north, northwest, and they started to the surprise suddenly. We want to enter Medina, and there's this big trench. And Abu Sufyan looked and said, Wallahi, this is a trick not known to the Arabs. So he knew this is not an idea of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it's not from the Arabs, and it's true. It was from Salman al-Farisi radiyallahu anhu. So he sent to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "Oh Muhammad, are you afraid? What's this? Are you afraid to meet us?" Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "This is the war. War, it's tricks and plots and plans, not only face-to-face fight. There's always preparation." So they tried to find a place in the whole trench, looking back and forth, see is there any narrow space they can get to it. They couldn't find anything. Abu Sufyan thought, okay, it's not going to happen, we cannot cross this. So the best way, we have to get Bani Qurayza to help us, so we can come from behind. And who is the best person to speak to Bani Qurayza? The leader of Bani Nudayr, Jews talking to Jews. So he went to Hayy ibn Akhtab and said, why don't you talk to the Bani Qurayza, see if they can let us go through, and then we can attack and get Medina. Hayy ibn Akhtab went straight to Bani Qurayza and start talking from outside the fort to their leader, Ka'b ibn Malik. He told him, Ya Ka'b, let me enter. Ka'b, no, you're not entering. Let me enter. You're not entering. I have a treaty with Muhammad. You're not entering. So he, just to get him, trick him, i.e. in a way, he said, Wallahi, you're not afraid from Muhammad. You're just afraid that if I enter, you have to offer me food, and you are a mean and tight-fisted person. And that was a shameful thing to say to the Arabs. Even the Jews there had the same attitude of the Arabs. They had their prides of, you can't tell me I'm tight-fisted. So he said, okay, come in, but only for a short period. So that was the trick he played on him. So he got him in, and he started talking to him, Ya Ka'b, I got you all the Arabs, I got you 10,000 people, I have Ghatafan with me, I have Bani Nadir, I have Abu Sufyan and Quraysh. They started counting all the tribes. And slowly, they started talking until they convinced Bani Qurayza to fight and help them. And Ka'b went, brought the signed treaty with the Prophet ﷺ and tore it apart. So this is treason first degree. The Prophet ﷺ heard that there's something not correct happening in Bani Qurayza, something is not right there. So he sent to them two of the Muslims, which are Sa'd ibn Mu'adh and Sa'd ibn Ubadah, the two Sa'd, which are the leaders of Al-Aws and Khazraj. So the two leaders of the tribes of Medina. And he told them, see what they are at. If they are still on the deal and the treaty we have, come and announce it loudly amongst all the Muslims. If they're not, tell me. They went there and they started calling to Bani Qurayza, talk to them, and suddenly they're faced with people shouting, cursing, swearing at them. So Sa'd ibn Ubadah said, we have a deal, a treaty with the Prophet. Said, no treaty for you, no truth, no peace. So Sa'd ibn Ubadah started cursing them back. And Sa'd ibn Mu'adh stopped him. He said, what is between us and them is more than just words and swear and cursing. Let's go tell the Prophet ﷺ. When they went back, the Prophet ﷺ said, what's the news? They told him two words, Adl wal Qara. Adl wal Qara are, if you remember in previous lessons, are the two tribes who killed the 6 people the Prophet ﷺ sent with them to teach. They came, promised the Prophet that come send them to teach our people, and as they arrived to their tribe, they killed them to trigger trouble only. So these are Adl wal Qara, i.e. treason. They didn't say more. The Prophet ﷺ, when he heard that, he said, Allahu Akbar. He made takbir. The Muslims said takbir. Something is happening, something good. The Prophet ﷺ said, prepare for winning the war. Abshiru bin Nasr. Subhanallah. More trouble in what you think as a human, but from Allah and the way that He teaches His Prophet, it's always good, positive news. Of course, now we have the southeast that's open, danger zone. Munafiqeen, when they saw all the groups of thousands outside, they started saying, oh, Prophet, we can't leave our houses, we're afraid we have to be there. So they withdrew, leaving only about 1/3 of the army with the Prophet ﷺ present. Suddenly, they have to defend the whole trench, and they keep running across, of course, to stop people trying to jump the trench. They have to defend, so everybody was protecting the trench from the Muslims constantly. There was a constant run and check. Now, Bani Qurayza tried to test the Muslims, said, if we want to win, let's go to the Muslims and capture some of their women and take them with us. So if they want to fight us, we have ransom, and this way we are always up and stronger. And the fort where the Muslims were only women and children. There was only an elderly man, Hassan ibn Thabit, the poet of the Prophet ﷺ. He was over 60, tired man, old man, sitting there not doing much. The Jews sent a group to see what's happening there. Are there men in there in the fort, or is it just women so they can attack? Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib, the aunt of the Prophet ﷺ, and the mother of Az-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam, one of the strong fighters in Islam, saw them. She went to Hassan ibn Thabit. She said, Hassan, the Jews are here, Bani Qurayza. Then don't look that they are friendly. Can you go and defend us or kill one of them so they can be afraid? He said, I'm an old man. I don't know anything about fight. What do you want me to do? So radiallahu anha, she got herself dressed, tightened everything, and a gear, got a metal bar in her hand and hid behind a wall. As soon one of them was coming, she hit him with that metal bar. He fell on the ground, killed him and pulled him out. Took him all the way into the fort. With the help of others, got all the way up and dropped it on his friends. Suddenly they saw their friend killed and thrown up from the fort. They say, oh, the fort is full of men. We can't attack. And subhanAllah, from one courage woman, defended the whole Muslims in that fort. Radiallahu anha wa ardah. And this is, after that, more Muslims start being afraid and going back home. Only 300 men remained with the Prophet ﷺ defending the trench. And when you read Surah Al-Ahzab, again, chapter 33, verse 10, Allah said, إِذْ جَاءُوكُمْ مِنْ فَوْقِكُمْ وَمِنْ أَسْفَلَ مِنْكُمْ وَإِذْ زَاغَتِ الْأَبْصَارُ وَبَلَغَتِ الْقُلُوبُ الْحَنَاجِرُ وَتَظُنُّونَ بِاللَّهِ الظُّنُونَ. They came from above you and from underneath or below you, and your hearts got into your throat from fear. And your eyesight started going right, left. Where are we going to defend? You can't tell. Are we going to right, left? We have to defend. So all that fear happened, and some of the Muslims started thinking the wrong thoughts about Allah. That Allah is not defending us, not helping us. We have to help each other. So it started shaken iman. Allah just tells you about the Muslim state, their state. The Muslims carried on the defense, and suddenly, out of the blue, 5 big fighters from Quraysh managed to jump the trench to the other side with their horses. And out of the blue, Muslims were faced with 5 fighters. One of them was Amr ibn Wud, Ikrim ibn Abi Jahl, Hubayr ibn Abi Wahb, Dirar ibn al-Khattab, and Nawfal ibn Abdullah ibn Muawiyah. Just to let you know, Amr ibn Wud, he was a man, they say he was 80 on this time. He was a man, if the Arabs in the Arab Peninsula hear his name coming, they will run away. That is how strong and a fighter he was. His name would put fear in the hearts of the people. And he was one of the 5 that jumped over. And he suddenly stood up and shouted, "Who is ready to fight?" The Muslim said, "And who are you?" Because I said, all geared up with their war. He said, "I am Amr ibn Wud." You can feel what I said, just his name. The Muslims couldn't do anything. They all got afraid. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Who would go and fight him?" No one answered. He said, "Who would go and fight him?" Ali ibn Abi Talib stood up radiallahu anhu and said, "I will, Ya Rasulullah." He said, "Sit down, Ali." She called again, "Who would go and fight him?" Ali stood up again radiallahu anhu, karramallahu wajhah. He said, "I will, Ya Rasulullah." He said, "Sit down, Ya Ali." Ali was in his 20s, 24, 25. He's still new in a fight, and compared to someone who is feared in Arabia by his name, let alone his fight. He called again, "Who would go out and fight him?" Ali radiallahu anhu stood up again and said, "I will, Ya Rasulullah." Prophet ﷺ said, "Ya Ali, I fear he might kill you." He said, "Ya Rasulullah, I will kill him, insha'Allah." So the Prophet ﷺ sent him out. So as he walked out, Amr ibn Wud said, "And who are you?" He said, "I am Ali." He said, "Ali ibn Muawiyah." He said, "Ali ibn Abi Talib." He said, "Oh my son, just go. I don't want to kill you." said, but wallahi, I would love to kill you. Radiyallahu anhu. He said, but before I do that, I know about you, Amr. You're never called for one of two options except you answer for one of them. He said, yes. That's then. I ask you of one of two options. One, you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, and you protect yourself. He said, I have nothing to do with this. That's why I'm here to fight you about. What is the second one? He said, the second one, come and fight me. Amr ibn Wud was so angry. Someone asking and calling him to fight. He was the one who everybody fears. So from his anger of his pride, he jumped off his horse and killed the horse to prove that that's it, I'm burning my ships. It's I will kill you or I will die. He was that proud of his abilities. And subhanAllah, they started the fight. And a fight, and suddenly Ali ibn Abi Talib got injured. But carried on the fight, and suddenly because of the severity of the fight, dust was raising around them. People stopped seeing what's happening, only dust. No one knew who's hitting who out of the two, what's happening. And out of all that dust and the darkness, a shout came, Allahu Akbar. When the Prophet heard the voice, he knew it's the voice of someone who's still alive. And he said, Allahu Akbar. So the Prophet started with takbir, and out of Ali radiallahu anh came out, having killed Amr ibn Wud. The other four saw Amr ibn Wud, their top fighter, the fear of Arabia being killed. They ran with their horses and jumped to the other side. One of them, which was Nawfal ibn Abdullah ibn Muawiyah, before he jumped, Az-Zubair ibn Awam managed to get his sword and cut him in two pieces to the level that the sword hit the horse. That's how strong his ability was, radiallahu anhu. And it's in Bukhari, that's narrated in Bukhari, this event. SubhanAllah, after that, the mushrik knew that there is no way we can do this. We have to deal with it in another way. In this part of that difficulty, the kuffar sent to Muhammad, said, we want the bodies of the two dead. Two of their leaders, Amr ibn Wud and Abdullah ibn Nawfal. We need the bodies, and we will pay you 100,000 dirham for them. Prophet ﷺ said, we do not take money for bodies. We don't sell bodies. This is another fatwa in Islam, that if you have bodies, you don't exchange them for money. You might exchange them for other bodies or prisoners, but not for money. So they dropped the bodies in the trench, and they allowed the kuffar to come down, pick up these bodies, and go out to the other side. And Uyayna ibn Hisn was the leader of Ghatafan. The Prophet ﷺ felt, if I can break these tribes and I can get them, at least distract one of them. Ghatafan had 4,000 men in this battle. So if I can get them out, we might be able to win this. So he called Uyayna ibn Hisn secretly, and he met with him. And he started negotiating with him. What if we give you part of the dates of Medina for a year, and you leave with your people and go back to Ghatafan? He said, I want the whole crops of dates of Medina for a whole year. So they kept negotiating until they agreed that half the crops of the dates will be given to Ghatafan for a whole year, providing Ghatafan return. After they agreed, the Prophet ﷺ said, now the agreement is with me. I need to ask the people of Medina, because they're not my crops. So he called Sa'd ibn Mu'az and Sa'd ibn Ubadah, the leaders of Al-Aws wal-Khazraj. And they asked them that I've negotiated with the leader of Ghatafan such and such a deal. But Sa'd ibn Mu'az said, Ya Rasulullah, is it wahi? He said, no, this is nothing to do with wahi. He said, Ya Rasulullah, is it something you have a personal benefit out of, or are you doing it out of benefit or love to yourself? He said, no, it's just part of the war tricks. He said, if it is just the war and trick, if it was wahi, wallahi, we will not have said anything, we will just obey. And if you said it's something that you have personal benefit out of, wallahi, out of love to you, we will give it. But if it is just the war and tricks of the war, before we were Muslim, Ghatafan would not take a date out of us, except either we give it to them as a present or they buy it. Now we have the pride of Islam. Wallahi, they will not get any piece of date except with a fight. No, the deal is not agreeable. So the Prophet ﷺ went and said, this is what you heard, there's nothing. Uyayna and Husn could not believe it. People surrounded, they feared, they attacked, they can lose everything, and they still would not give in. So that was a no-go. Now, during all this period, then Sa'd ibn Mu'adh returned home to have a quick shower, eat something. On his way back, again narrated in the hadith, that Sayyidah Aisha saw him, and she said he had a little defect in his gear, metal gear in his chest, and I feared that he might be injured from it. And subhanAllah, Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, as he returned with the Muslims, an arrow from nowhere came and hit him in that area, in his chest. And the Prophet ﷺ went to him, took the arrow out, and suddenly blood flooded. They kept pressing, trying everything, nothing worked. The Prophet ﷺ got a rod, metal rod, heated it, and poked that to burn it. It stopped bleeding. Minutes later, blood flooded again. It was burnt second time. Minute, flood third time. It was burnt a third time, and he was sent to al-Masjid of the Prophet ﷺ to be nursed there and looked after. And the first nurse in Islam was a woman called Rafida or Rafida. She was nursing him in the masjid. So the kuffar kept trying and trying, and that day suddenly the Muslims kept defending and defending and defending to the level that Maghrib came, and some of them have not prayed Asr. Umar ibn Khattab told the Prophet ﷺ, said, Ya Rasulullah, wallahi, they kept us so busy. I only managed to pray while I was fighting them before Maghrib. Prophet ﷺ said, as for me, Ya Umar, I have not prayed Asr yet. At Maghrib, usually they settle down the night and rest. There's no fighting at night time. So the Prophet called all the Sahaba who has not prayed Asr, and he led them in a prayer for Asr, and then they prayed Maghrib together. In all these difficult times, a man came out, and we mentioned his name just before this, at the beginning of this dars, and that was Na'im ibn Mas'ud, or Nu'aym ibn Mas'ud, two different narration of his name. He is the man that Abu Sufyan sent him to Ghazwat Badr al-Akhirah to say, tell Muhammad, we grouped him and put fear in his heart. Out of blue, he came to the Prophet ﷺ, came down the trench and up, and announced his Islam. Subhanallah, when he wants to put the Islam in a heart, he will put it in one man's heart. And he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu annaka Rasulullah. Order me, what do you want me to do? Prophet ﷺ said, you are only one man. You cannot add to my army. But if you can get them to disperse or fight amongst each others and then leave each others, do it. He said, but if I have to do, I will have to lie. Look, he became Muslim seconds ago and says, I shouldn't be lying. He said, you're allowed to lie in a war event. And this is one of the three events that the Prophet ﷺ said you can lie. One of them is war. So Na'im ibn Mas'ud crossed to the other side and started the plot to get the Ahzab to disperse. And I'm going to leave that till next week, inshaAllah. We're getting to Maghrib. Jazakum Allahu khair. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.